day-to-day planning. So, as someone has mentioned, the subtitle of the presentation is a little bit different than the one that you have on the program, but hopefully we'll cover it in the media integration, because it, of course, needs a lot of governance. And I don't know, maybe what about you? Who are coming and working with IT in the room? Can you raise your hand, please? Okay, so most of us, I guess. Okay, so I'm not actually. My job as a chief data is working with the data and providing value to the company by making it usable. And that's why I'm not really, of course, I have some people and I cover this in my team, which are working with data, and we are IT guys, but it's a separate direction at RTBF. And I think it's something important that I cover in the presentation. So first things first, a brief overview of RTBF, the French-speaking radio television in Belgium. So we have traditionally television, radio, and for now, I'd say 10 years, we are active on the digital on the large scale. We are public funded, but also we try to get revenue from advertising, telco deals, specifically with Proximus, but it's not the only one, but it's a larger one in our zone. So we have 3 TV channels, 7 radio channels, and that's basically what we are doing at RTBF. Very comparable to BRT, of course. Maybe just a figure to start. EBU is the European Broadcasting Union. We are it's a syndicate of public broadcaster in Europe, and they made this survey, which helped us understand where we stand with data in the media industry. At the moment, 72% of European public service considers a data strategy is highly important, hopefully, which means that 1 out of 4 doesn't think so, which I find strange, but why not? But the drawback is that only 24% have a centralized data department, which is the case of RTBF, and only 15% consider that they have a data strategy in place. I think it's quite odd when you see how much the media landscape has been disrupted by data and by the competitors who are using it in the right way. I'm thinking, of course, to the Google, Facebook, TikTok of the world, and all of them have the data at the core of their business. So we need to do maybe not the same thing. It's also something that I will discuss with you, but we need to, of course, do data management right. There is a first phase of the transformation around data, which covers the 5 previous years. With a major shift on the, I would say, on the organizational side. This major shift is that we stopped the silos from TV, radio, and digital. Something that really disrupted all the company, because you used to work for TV, for instance, and it was an end-to-end process, deciding what you are going to produce, deciding when you are going to air it for the audience. All of this was covered basically in the TV channel silo, or in the radio silo, or in the digital one. Major shift that and instead of thinking of television, radio, or digital, we think in terms of audience. So we have 4, which are the main. Every program that we make, every story that we want to share is produced with one of this audience in mind. So you will have, for instance, the young, new generation. I think the young one, the harder to connect, the harder to get on TV and radio for sure, and even on digital, because they are very used with their platforms such as, let's say, TikTok. we are the young adults. It's the time when you start working, let's say, and going to 45. Sometimes, let's say 45. And then you have two other audience. You have the we. It means each and every one of us when we, for instance, we're watching a soccer game, or when we are a program that is really in that strategy is The Voice, for instance. And we have the affinity, so it depends on your specific affinity that we want to cover, for instance, classical music. In the media, I think it's important to understand that everyone has been disrupted, and the Yellow Pages is the greatest example of all, I think, because do you remember this? When did the last time you saw one? I think it was like a long time ago. It just disappeared for the best and for the worst. But what is interesting is that Google take it all as a company with a new way of managing the data that was in that book. They changed definitely the way you would advertise, the way you could target. But something that they don't change, for instance, is the search engine optimization. You would think that it's something new. Actually, it's not, because I don't know if you remember this guy who was a AAA plumber that used this technique of naming in order to be the first one in the rank. So it's interesting because it was there. It's just another way to do it and to put it. And of course, I can discuss this slide for long. Another interesting idea around this, I think a lot of you have heard about master data management. I think what is very interesting in the Google case is that they've been externalizing their master data management, because that's what SEO is at the end of the day. Is Google telling everyone on the market, okay, if you want your website to be on the first page, you need to do it this way, this way, this way. And this guidance is really, really smart. But of course, it's MDM at the internet and I would say worldwide scale, which is quite amazing and something that we can discuss for long. As a strategy for data and organization, we are here. So you have production and acquisition of content around 6 thematic. You have the media, so it's the distribution for radio, TV, websites, apps and players, social networks. Then you have the technology. And as I said, I'm not part of technology because I'm working directly for the general administrator with a dedicated team to data management, which I think is an efficient way to do it. So in the data department, we have 4 types of profile, which are, we don't want it to be too complicated because you have so many names on the market. And of course, we can discuss deep learning engineers. We can go deep into the naming. But for the company, which is not IT minded in the media, we chose to get these 4. And I think it's working quite smoothly. We have the engineers, who are experts in data collection. We have architects, so they are experts in data storage, processing solutions. So those 2 work basically to get the data somewhere and make sure that where it relies, it's well managed and usable and privacy compliant. And then you have the 2 other profiles. I would say sometimes we split those 2 groups with the analysts, who are directly in contact with the business and trying to get the first analysis of the data, make sense. I would say communicate around it, and specifically to the company management. But not only, because we're also discussing self-service and things like that. And you have the data scientist, which is kind of a rock star in that field. Many different ways to be a data scientist nowadays. Some are very specialized. on natural language processing or on recommender system. So we are calling them data scientists, but of course they are a different way of becoming a data scientist. So this is for the data department at RTBF. We are at the moment. We are 5 people from RTBF, and I'd say 9 to 13 who are working with us also, but who are consultants. So, which makes it a little less than, yes, I would say between 15 and 20 people, depending on how you see it. Of course, when you are dealing with the data, you need to discuss the tools. I took this one for today, which is made by Denodo, and it's quite well easy to understand, I think. But let's dig a little bit into that. So you have disparate data sources. So that's the main problem that we all have. The data is relying everywhere in the company. As I mentioned previously, you have historically the legacy system are TV, radio, digital. Those systems doesn't communicate because they don't need to in the past. So this is really hard to manage the complexity, specifically when we want to move from a company that is dealing with the media to a company which is dealing with stories told to people, because we want actually to be agnostic and for same content, same story, be able to tell it on the radio, on TV, on digital, and get the same metadata, the same description, find the package. So the case is, of course, very interesting for us, and we have a database, well, XML, everyone does, XLS. We have a lot of videos, of course, also. We have a lot of audios. So what would be the figures? For audios, we may have like 80,000 hours of content, and we have like more than 1 million, 1.5 million articles. So it's quite a large asset. So the content is the main asset of the company, beside the people working for it. And so if you want to be well efficient, you need to connect this data, to combine it, to make it available, and well, then provide it to the other enterprise applications, your BI systems, even Excel. We are working actually at the moment with Tableau, but we also investigate new products. So that is for Denodo. We have a case actually, which is not based. We started to work with Denodo like I'd say a few months ago, and we did the first case, very interesting with well, let's say with the payroll. We changed our payroll system, and we made sure that there is a master data of HR people working in the company. So there is only one place now where you can have all the people working with the company, and we start to deploy this in each and every system of the company. So if you have a new product, you will use it. So, and anytime, and if someone is leaving the company, which is something everyone experience at some point, it's a pain for a lot of tools that you would have. And so that's the first case. That's the only one what we did at the moment, but we are very happy with the system because it's very easy to connect different databases and to make a product out of it. And we did that with the, I would say, legacy IT, and they are quite happy with it also. So, and I hope that we can scale up with this kind of usage with data virtualization on a much more complex case. For instance, well, real-time cases that we would do on our platforms. And it's, of course, much more difficult. What I want to share with you also, because it's something I do believe in a lot, is that it's data is something that everyone in the company is doing, sometimes without even knowing that it's doing data. And so you can't have a department that is doing all the trick. You really need to embrace all the company and make sure that everyone is on board. So we developed the team of teams model. So the idea behind that is to say, okay, we are the data department, but we want to get people on board throughout the company, and for that we created different teams that I will present you shortly, and people who are coming from everywhere. And I think it's a very strong message when you manage data in the company. If you want to be to make sure that you will get value out of the data, you need to have everyone concerned, and it's a great way. I won't dig into the team of teams from Stanley McChrystal, but something that is well, really useful for us. So the way we are organized is we are always working for the business sponsor, because it was a mistake, and it's a mistake that I've seen in many different companies. When you have a data department, they start to do and pretend that they can do the job from another direction. It's very common with marketing, but I think it's common in other fields. And so it's important when you are in my position to always get a business sponsor, because he's the one who is knowing his business. He's the one who knows what he wants to do with the data and which value relies in the data and in the a better usage of it. So it can be marketing, it can be studies, it can be platform developers, but you always have a sponsor, something that is important, and he provide you with business operator that explain to you how it works, what the data means. You can build a data catalog with them. So those roles are very important, and in data teams you don't have to, you need to make sure that they are always working with you closely. In the team, I told you, we have the data scientists, the data architect, the data engineer, the data analysts. And we, of course, work closely with the IT, and they have a artificial intelligence referent, for instance, metadata referent. So we put these functions and these roles in the IT team, and we work closely with them in order to make sure that what we are building is can go into production in a smooth way. And then you will find profiles that are relying everywhere in the company. First one are metadata managers. So basically people who are making sure that the data is coming into the system and that they need to be responsible for the data that they are collecting for us. And then you have the business analyst, and the business analysts also are decentralized. The idea is not to have analysts in my team, only maybe lead analyst, but the idea behind that is that tomorrow everyone is supposed to get self-service data and to make sure that they can get value out of it without being in a situation where they wait for us, or maybe in a situation where we don't really understand their needs. So the business analysts will remain decentralized throughout the company. And when I say business analysts, I mean financial one, because it's the first data analyst team in the company most of the time, but also marketing and also studies. So we really try, and also UX developers on platforms. Another important point for us in our strategy to integrate data is not to avoid, we call the white elephant, when you buy something that is very expensive, not very useful, and remain costly throughout the time. So we had example in the past, and so we talk a lot about the white elephant in the company. Every time we say, okay, let's collect all the data, something you may have experienced also. Let's collect all the data. We'll see what we do with it when we finish. Something that it never works, actually, because at the end of the day, you have a pile of data. You still don't know what you want to do with it, and even though if you know what you want to do with it, you can't, because you missed something. So the white elephant is trying to teaches this in the company. We have a strategy around single sign-on, so it's a very important way of collecting data from the interest of the public to better understand them. So at the moment we have 4.4 million unique visitors. Logins. Account created. Yes. So 4.4 million accounts on the platform. You can see that World Cup does a lot. Yeah, maybe did that. You can see World Cup here, World Cup here. So it's quite a great area to collect the data. But unfortunately, and this is something that we are going to do. Well, we're working on that. We don't, for a lot of people, it's not mandatory to tell us your age, your gender, or where you live. And there are still a lot of value that we want to unlock here, specifically with the localization, because we have a lot of localized data and content that we want to provide our audience. This helps us better understand the audience, even though, as I said, that we don't have a lot of age. We only have 34% of our 4.4 million accounts with a zip code. So data quality needs to be improved a lot. It's mainly men, thanks to World Cup, I guess. And we have another interesting fact, maybe. One that I like is only 36. We develop a functionality on the platform, and only 36,000 people used it. It's the My Choice. So the idea is you say, I like this, I like sport, I like news, and I like Namur. And then you have information around those topics. And actually 36,000, it's not a lot. It took us a long time to develop this functionality. And the idea, what I think we've learned is that the user has no time. So you need to personalize the experience on the platform without the user being in charge of communicating you with data. And if you look at it, it's the way TikTok is working. You go to TikTok and then you're saying things even though you don't know that you're saying things, because it's just by swiping that you're changing the algorithm. But then you don't have to do anything else. And even in that configuration, TikTok is able to, well, in a few minutes, is able to really understand what you like for content. Sometimes it's a bit scary, but it's what people. I mean, sometimes we are all like, okay, what do I want to share data with this platform? And in fact, in our day-to-day, we are all choosing platforms that are using our data to improve their products. It's something that it's really clear for us now, because as a public service, we have a lot of questions around the data protection, of course, and we want to be best in class in that field. With data, we unlock a really interesting functionality. Previously, the data from the audience of our program is based on the panel. And so you can have aggregated audience, but you can't dig into it because the way the panel is built makes it impossible to deep dive specifically in the correlation between the program consumption. So what you will see here is something that is very, very useful, because it's a show which is called Pandor. It's a show from RTBF on Belgium, or one Belgium political party. And you can, with this visualization, it's the galaxy of our program. I think it's Star Wars Day, so I came with my galaxy. And the galaxy of the program, if you are in the center, it means that your program is is one of the most popular, and a lot of people is watching it. And the closer the program, the more the audience are similar. So if, of course, the most popular program, everyone is watching them. So you will find them at the center of the galaxy. And what you will have here is programs that are less consumed, are more consumed separately. And so, for instance, this program and this program, it doesn't really make sense to recommend this program to the person who watched this, or maybe it does, but considering our collaborative filtering is working on platforms such as Facebook and all, they are mostly doing you've been watching this, so let's watch this, and so it's a way to watch as the filter bubble. Maybe you've heard this concept of you're on a social network and you're scrolling and you see only information that is what you agree with. Well, it's basically you can watch it here. You say, okay, I like this, and the people also we have a similar audience, so I will recommend you this. There's a great chance that you will like it, but there's also a great chance that you will stay in your own corner of the galaxy. And as a public service, we want all the galaxy to to meet, and so because at the end of the day, it's a really democratic problem when you have the galaxy split and that we start fighting. Okay, we use data, of course, for marketing purpose. So you can see same show, Pandora, and it's really interesting to see that we, for instance, for this email, we have 25% opening it. We are very happy with this kind of performance because for marketing purpose, it's hard to be, I think you're more like 12% when you're selling your own product to your audience. So 25% is really we can see that it's because we're using the data. Well, I hope. We are also doing personalized recommendation. So here it's for news. It's the more complicated thing to do. Sometimes you can, so it's also where we invest, the bigger part of our time and money, because we really feel that the world, the digital world is getting personalized, and we really want through 800,000 hours provide you with the data that interests you. So recommend the system is crucial for media companies. But as a public service, as I said, we really need to be able to show the data, how it works, explain the algorithm. So some of you may argue that you can't really explain. Explainability is not a concept that can be applied to a lot of algorithm on the market, but still we try to make it at least suitable for us to understand what the algorithm is doing right now. It's a question that Mark Zuckerberg encountered at the Congress like few hours. Well, I don't know. It was like 5, 6, 7 years ago. I said, okay, but do you have any idea what your algorithm is doing? And basically he said, not really. I know that people are clicking, but beside that, he didn't have the auditability of the system and the ability to answer this. So a lot of our data management need to be focused on this scriptability for us to understand what the algorithm are doing. And also we want to teach the audience what the algorithm are and so how it works, because a lot of people, specifically the younger ones, they don't really understand the algorithm, even though they are able to say that if they're using the platform in a way it will change the recommendation that they obtain. They don't really see what can be problematic with that situation, and we want really people get more educated on the recommended system, even on e-commerce platform, because it can have also drawbacks. What we're doing with data is also in production. So this field is changing like very fast. thanks to the new developments, and I won't mention ChatGPT here, but it's incredibly useful for us, and things that would took us a lot of time. Well, we've been digging into large language model, but it was, well, I mean, ChatGPT makes it obvious for everyone that there's a lot to do. Here, it's not with ChatGPT. The idea is facial recognition and sentiment analysis on the face of the candidate. It helps us in the production process when we are cutting the final episode and get to know precisely where we should look and when something is maybe happening by the fact that the candidate is acting in a way or the other. And they say that it can sometimes provide them with 30% time, free time for doing another task. We've been also using data, and we want to go more and more in that direction with data journalism. So you've been seeing that maybe on our platform, but also the New York Times is doing great things and great inspiration for us. And there are so many data available, so many ways to help you grasp it in a blink of an eye, because that's really the idea here is how we can tell a story with data and make, for instance, the Panama Papers, the Pandora Papers, which are millions and millions of pages available for you, like in a short article when you can interact with the data and make your little own investigation. Very also interesting because I mean, the journalist involved in that gets more credibility on the market, because using the data this way makes it very credible. We are doing also a lot on production. Here you can see as a news TV show, and we try at the moment when we want to put it on digital, we have someone who is cutting it manually, and we're doing it now with artificial intelligence. We are doing a lot of classification because in our content, it's well, I think it's a basic use case for a lot of us, but while considering the amount of content that we have, finding new ways to segment it is really, really crucial. So one way to do it is we label, let's say, 1,000, 2,000 articles or 1,000, 2,000 podcasts, and then we try to do the segmentation automatically with NLPs. We are also working on text because we have a lot of text, and we also use transcription from podcast and from video, and try to understand what are we talking about, how are we talking about it. And here you can see that we made the case that there's been a change in journalism in the way journalists are talking about women before and after Me Too, which is for us a great discovery, actually, because it's something that we can really point out to the redaction. So it's been a very interesting case. And we also collaborate with our European partners. Here you have a great experience based on artificial intelligence. So you have a recommender system, and you have automatically translated papers from, let's say, Germany, Finland, Lithuania, Spain, and you can have it in your own language. On a specific topic. So that's nice, because if you're reading a story with the Belgian point of view, let's say, you can also add context and say, okay, people in Spain are seeing the same exactly articles in another way. And at the end of the day, we are happy to get more than 90% of the 16 plus population in contact at least once with RTBF on a weekly basis. Is something that the idea is we need to get this audience still in contact and maximize the number of contact that we have throughout the week. The second part, maybe I'll go a little quicker. I think it was important for me. I love to share media side. And for the second one, I have some interesting information, but please feel free to interrupt me and then to see if you have any question, and I'll try to get 5 minutes in order for you to ask it. So, in the new strategy that started this year and will end in 2027, we'll have two main strategic axis. The first one is get more intellectual property out of what we're doing. So we're not basically building program for TV. As I said, we want to have a story and then to get intellectual property on this, so to sell shows, because it's important for us. As I said, we are publicly funded only for 75%. We have 25% that comes from our business, and it's more and more like this. You build a show and you want then to sell it to other broadcaster in order to make a virtuous ecosystem between public broadcaster. And we have, for instance, one that is called La Yourte. I don't know in English how you say La Yourte, but it's the idea is that a team of our anchors are in a yurt for like 1 week, and they need to live without the everyday comfort. And it's nice because it's both funny and also educational, and so we're selling it a lot. That's the idea, that what we want to do. And the other one is bring society closer together. It's the galaxy metaphor in a digital and personalized world, something that is really difficult, because if everyone has his own media timeline, it's hard for us to understand each other at the end of the day if we are not in contact with the same event, the same way, the same information. So it will remain this way, but our role is to see how we can bring some glue in the system, in the society. And we're doing that with algorithm, with the transparency. We need to improve content indexing, as I said, because it's beside the people of the company, content is the main asset. And we need to be able to find it when we want to make a new show. We need to be able to provide you, if you are interested in a specific topic, you need to be able to get in touch easily on the platform. So for that, we have a new management contract at RTBF, which specifically, and I think it's a revolution actually, because in that contract, the government provide us with obligation, but also with some clear guidance and objectives on data management. So I think it's really a revolution, something that I've been discussing with the government, who have been, I mean, it's quite impressive the way they understood where we need to go, and the fact that you can't be a public service media company competing equally with Facebook and these big companies if you don't have the data. So they provide us with some guidance. Of course, big change in the media industry. I mean, everyone will be transformed at some point by ChatGPT, but for us, I mean, basically what we're doing is getting some formats and putting the story in other formats. So you have a text, you want to make a video, you have a video, you want to make a text, etc., etc. So it's definitely something that the new tools on the market are really good at. And we are going to change our whole system because we are also building a new building in Brussels, which is the occasion to change a lot of tools. And we'll have a media asset management that will provide us with the best-in-class solution. And maybe quickly, I'll go through the teams, because I told you about the team of teams. And maybe it can resonate in your own company. So, well, we'll see. What we did, so there is the my direction, and as I said, we want the connection in another galaxy. I didn't know. Well, the first group I would say is the a metadata group. We call it the group des 12, and the group of 12, and there are not 12, which help us remind that we have a metadata problem, even. And so that it's throughout the company, and we are establishing guidelines for the content. So for our podcast, for our videos, what do we want to store and to present to the audience? And it's not the same if we're talking about a podcast for the youth, and if we are talking about radio news. And we really want this to be super clear, super transparent, and communicate that to throughout the company. So each and every content that we have will be correctly described. That's the first team. Here you have a team which is in charge of dealing with the personal data. It's not data protection. It's specifically dealing with the data of the people in the public, and see what we can do with it, and try to make it easier for people to be in touch with the data securely, of course, for new use case. And you have, of course, the data protection team, data protection bureau, and those two are working together, but they're separate because, of course, the objective is not the same, and sometimes data protection bureau needs to stop the creativity of the data personal group, but this group needs to be separate because creativity is important also sometimes, and it's a good tension. We also have a team which is specialized in analytic tools, and making sure that they are correctly selected, correctly implemented, and that you can use it in the company. And they are very tool focused. It's I would say it's more an IT role, but that needs to be connected with the business and connected to a team which is in charge of analysis throughout the company. So it's mainly studies, but with some key elements that are using the data to take decision. And so here also you have a discussion between the two teams. We have an editorial committee for algorithm, and now it's for algorithm and AI, because algorithm was the first use case that we have. So, but now we have so many places that we can use AI, and I really recommend that you ask yourself who is in charge in your company with this editorial and ethic usage of the AI before it's too late, because I think in your company and in mine, a lot of people are now working with AI, even before you may don't know about it. ChatGPT is a good example, but there may be others. And it's for ethics, but ethics is one thing, but the other thing is to be creative with AI. So we have a dedicated team also for that. So they're separate. One is really saying, okay, we're not going to do that. If we're doing this, we need to explain to the audience that we are using AI, for instance, for writing this article. It's something that maybe you don't have the conscious of that, but I'd say that in a few months, the majority of what you are going to read on the internet will be written by a machine. And how would you know? And for us, it's a big question. Do we need to step up in that field, or do we need to wait? But what's going to be the reaction of the public? So I think it's it's a good question, but I'm pretty sure that in a few years it will not be only be text; it will be also videos. I mean, images. Images are frightening, and most of the time you don't know about it. Is it okay for us, for instance, to use an AI to describe a podcast, to make a picture for a podcast? Two choices. You don't have a picture because doing radio is very time consuming, and they don't have time to describe the product, to make an image of the podcast and to put it on the web. But now I can do it with a machine. But is it okay? And this is the kind of discussion that we need to have at the moment. And last but not least, the API team, because of course API and data, that's the same thing. API is just a way to share the data between the teams, and so you need all this governance that will at some point be in touch with this team, which makes sure that you can develop an API, you can connect an API, and that the data is running smoothly in the company. I won't go through this one because it's just the description of what I just said. I love this one. Who knows this? Have you heard of Bezos mandate? 1, 2, 3. Oh,
Everybody should know it.
It was this morning.
it was this morning. Oh, okay.
On the slide, yes.
Okay. Well, I think it started. It started there. It was like 20 years ago. So, well, more than 20 years ago. And well, Jeff Bezos did great with that idea, and I'm pretty sure that it helped Amazon be the leader that it is today. The idea is very simple. You expose the data through interface, so stop your email. He stopped PowerPoint also, Jeff Bezos. Don't know what you think about it, but no, never know. Teams must communicate with each other through the interface, no formal process, etc. And anyone who doesn't do this won't be fired because we're not working with Amazon. But it still show us how much important it is in your overall data strategy. For the team of RAIN API, so when you have the mindset of the Bezos mandate, well, the mission is quite clear, and the responsibilities of this team is to develop and maintain the API infrastructure to make sure that they are secure. It's quite well, we were talking about RTBF as a service because maybe tomorrow we won't develop our own platform. Maybe we can, just provide API and people will develop their own product with our content, with our shows, with our news. So we are looking into that direction. It's it's a job that the team for now is not big enough. There are like 4 people, and I think there need to be like 20. So for now, it's we're not going as far as we would like, but I'm pretty sure it changed. Hopefully, it will change. We have the same thing to this one. Maybe I can also conclude by the principle of our team, because I think the principles are important for the 12-member metadata team. We have a principle of centralization, of reconciliation, of updating, and we are empowering those teams with this principle, and we make sure they are autonomous and that they can deliver the best results by following these principles. So this is for metadata. Of course, we need to be very clear with the public of what we are doing with their data, their account data. So 4.4 million, well, it's a lot, it's a responsibility. And so there is an ethic behind that. But also regarding the ethic, I love to share with you this great philosopher, Emmanuel Kant, which say that you should not do to others what you don't want them to do to you. And I think it sums up the GDPR for us then. Of course, it's more subtle than that, but when you have that in mind, you can cover a lot of topics around GDPR, and that's something that we always try to keep in mind. We also have value for the editorial committee, which are the values that are public service value of diversity and inclusion, transparency, innovation, collaboration, and go on, because they also build it every day. And the major shift at the moment with ChatGPT makes it really important for us to provide this team with some power to discuss. Maybe, and and I'll finish with this. Everyone is talking about AI at the moment, and so as I said, it's data, it's API, and it's AI, it's discussion, and you don't do AI without data. So I'm in charge, of course, of the strategy around AI implementation across the company. Very, very hard, very fast moving space. But we made a typology that I can share with you. Maybe it's kind of obvious, but it's sometimes it's good to repeat what doesn't need to be repeated. First thing is that a lot of AI will come from here. You will buy it, and maybe you will buy it in the tools that for instance, Office. You will get ChatGPT in Office in a few months. I don't know when exactly, but you don't have to really think. Yeah, it's already there, and you will have this development. So you need just to as every tool, think about the way you are going to use it and to slightly change your company. I think we need to collaborate. So it's also something every time I'm saying this, but if you are interested in what we do at RTBF, if you want to discuss this further, I think we're never big enough to compete with the giants. So we can have this discussion around data science, around tools, whatever, and maybe we can do some research and development together. We are doing this with other companies, and something that is really open. We contribute a lot to university research with the UCL or with the ULB or maybe some others, but I think it's our role as public service also to help the university get better, and they help us get better because we are doing fundamental research. And the last one is when you develop and customize your application. That's what we do with our recommender system. So the decision to do that, generally, I would say, is how critic is this process? Because for us, recommender system maybe it can be done here, but it certainly can't be bought on the market because it will never respect what we aim to do. So for every critical aspect of your business, if you are going to do AI, you need to think about that. And this is where it's getting more and more complicated. And this is where we are open, of course, to discussion in order to make sure that we are doing it right. And so, yes, that's basically the idea. We can also connect inside the company, break silos in the company, but also break silos outside the company. And maybe you're interested in our API, maybe we're interested in your API, things like that. So the discussion is open. And I thank you very much for your attention. It was a pleasure for me to be with you this afternoon. Any questions? No obligation.
We of course also still have a break, so I assume during the break people will talk to you.
My pleasure, and thanks again for your attention.
I ask one small question,
yes.
Maybe a bit very big one. You have your metadata team of 12. I know from experience in the media, you can have a lot of silos with a lot of metadata. How did you tackle the organizational change that was needed to just when you went to compare centralize everything, you will have some overlap in data input.
Yeah.
So how did you go about changing that process, whether it's people from the data team, patient with editors or?
Good question. So we'll keep with the decentralization because it's mandatory considering the fact that the content is produced in a decentralized way. And so the metadata starts everywhere in the company. So for this, we are providing them with guidance, very strict guidance, and we're trying to make control points. So that's basically the way we are trying to do at the moment. The 12th group, it's people from the content producer, media distributor. So we try to cover, and that was a big issue actually, because we need to make them 12. Well, at the end of the day, we're 13. I hope it won't be a problem but I don't think so. Why is that? It's because first, they try to do it with 2 or 3 people saying, okay, you're in charge of metadata. Or this one is in charge of metadata. It's not working because, as you said, it's a company-wide problem. Then we say, okay, let's put in the group every people that can be useful. So it was a team of 100 people. So we chose to make it to this amount of people to cover all the department, and they have a big responsibility for communicating in their team, build with us the guidelines and make sure they are correct. And then they are, in charge of the control points. So for every metadata that the content is producing, the 2 people from the content team, they are, at the end of the day, they're responsible that the data is from good quality. And it's the same for IT, it's the same for media. It's a long road because during our talk, I guess we'll have 20 new articles on the website. We have, 3 hours of radio. So it's
the metadata validation, the data input
Yes.
validation
Yes.
is mainly a manual process still, or is there a lot that's been automated?
No, we automated transcription, metadata extraction. So we do summaries, we provide title when you don't have a title. A lot of our radio program, it's a point. So when I have a point, when I use ChatGPT, we put the transcription, say, okay, here's your new title. So a lot can be automatized, but not everything, because, for instance, intention in a content, it's the only one who knows what he wants to do or what is the audience. It's not something that you would extract with artificial intelligence, but so it will remain a manual process for a lot of the process. And I have to say it's a very long run. Also because many different tools, legacy tools, as I said, and we try to figure out the best way to connect them. But if you have a good idea on that, I'm always happy to hear them.
I never found the right answer.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Thank you.